Greetings YouTube, this is Toy Customizer Wake Angel 2001, making a rare on-screen appearance. This is my 100th YouTube video. Now I know not all of them have been about making custom action figures, but that is what everybody knows me for. So, on the recommendation of Angelo Yoshi, followed by some random numbers, I am going to do a quick showcase. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Showcase of all the action figures that I've ever made right here, right now. And I received a message from YouTube saying that I'm authorized for videos longer than 15 minutes quite a while ago. So we're going to test that right here. Okay, so this was my very first custom action figure. Well, sort of. This is a Metabot toy. I found it in a bag that my grandma had. He didn't have a head and he was missing an arm. So it was my first experiment to see if I could even make custom action figures. I tried my Sculpey Bacon Bend clay on this guy, and I made the arm and head for him. And now I'm pretty sure anyone who's watching this probably doesn't really care about him. What they really want to see is this. This Scourge figure, made of course from a Sonic, is my very first proper custom action figure. Last year at Comic-Con, I brought him into the Archie Comics booth where he got autographed by Ian Flynn, Patrick Spasnight, and on the back we can see Jamal Peppers, John Workman, and Jonathan Gray also gave their autographs. That wasn't quite the spill. As you can see, I modified the packaging. The front of it says Scourge, which looks like it's been spray painted over the word Sonic. So I keep him in the package because it's really cool looking. But let's pop him out of there so he can get a moment of regular glory. Okay, just gotta... I don't want to scratch him up when I'm pulling him out of the card. Alright, this figure has never actually been featured on my YouTube channel. And since I've made him, I've also made other Scourge. I made another Scourge that looked significantly better, but you know, this still has sentimental value because it's my very first custom, like proper custom. There are little flaws, like the sleeves of the jacket aren't actually attached to the body of the jacket. Just gotta... Aha! Now we can see his whole self. So yeah, there's little flaws. The paint app on the head isn't exactly completely even. I didn't use the seal and spray quite right. The little glasses are removable and can be repositioned so that he's actually wearing them. But I prefer the over the eyes, like they're more of an accessory than they are an actual item that he literally wears. The feet have seen better days. I wasn't very good at curing clay attached to action figures back then. But you know, for my very first custom, I still think he looks pretty good. And he still holds a metric ton of sentimentality to me. So this is my first custom. Why don't we move on? What do you think, Scourge? You want to move on? Yeah. Alright, this was my second ever custom. At the time I was working on a theme. I wanted to make the characters from the comic book because the action figure license seemed to be going to the video game. So I figured that these characters would never be scooped, that is, Jazzers would never make them. And also because he's a bad guy. And, you know, the action figure series so far has been pretty much all good guys. I mean, even today, you have Dr. Eggman and Metal Sonic, and they are going to be releasing some of the regular Badniks in the Generations toy line, but there's really no big villains. We aren't getting like Imperator X or Chaos Zero or any of the other villains that have appeared in the Sonic games until now. So I figured, let's make some bad guys for the set. Scourge was one, and for the second one I made Dr. Finitibus. This is my first time trying with a Knuckles figure. Now, you've seen this one. He doesn't have a YouTube video dedicated to him, but he did make a cameo in my Enerjack custom video. They gave him little heels on his feet so he stands easier. These are Tails' hands he has, and he has Sonic's, underneath these clay foot wraps are Sonic's feet. And I tried making little wire glasses, but they kept falling off, so I used cardboard. It's not waterproof, but who's going to be dunking their painted action figures underwater? So yeah, that's Dr. Finitibus, my second ever custom. So let's scooch him out of the way and showcase my third ever custom. My Princess Sally. Of course, I'm going to call this the Polly Princess Sally, because I made her from a Polly Pocket. I like the way she came out. If you look at her face, it did come out pretty decent. Love the hair. She's even posable. Only problem is, well, if we bring back Finitibus, you can see, she's a bit tall. She's about 4 inches, whereas regular Sonic figures are only 3. Also, the way that these Polly figures' feet go, she can't stand. So I got past that issue by my attempt at making a cute little stand thingy. You see, there's a hole drilled in her foot. They kind of just wiggle her onto this thing. She has to, also, you see sometimes cracks form. I noticed that happened in a lot of my earlier figures. It happened because I was curing the clay for too long, and it got overly cured and somewhat brittle. So yeah, I fixed that, so it doesn't really happen now anymore. But yeah, this was a problem for some of my earlier customs. All right. So Princess Sally was a very nice thing. She's also a character from the comic book. Then I decided to start doing some relatively obscure characters. And I met one person at Comic-Con who saw this guy made and freaked out because he was actually her favorite character. I mostly chose him because, he's another hedgehog, and hedgehogs are easy to make because you can just make them from Sonic. But this is a Robbo the Hedge. He's actually based around an extra transparent Sonic I got from the Comic 2-pack. And I cut his spines down. This is back before I had even X-Acto knives, so I had to do it with steak knives. I do recall I gave myself a rather deep cut when I was making this guy. It took quite a while to heal. As you can see, those infernal cracks are forming. I wish that there was a way I suppose I can seal the cracks by filling them with white glue or some other substance and then painting over them. But yeah, for some of my early work, these hands are scratch built. This is my first attempt at actually making hands. You see, he has Knuckles' feet. You notice he has one hand pointing with 2 fingers, and the other one has like a holding things hand. And that's because this was my first real attempt at an accessory. Because Robbo the Hedge is an archer, so I designed his figure to hold on to this little bow thing. You stick it in like that, then you push the other end up like this, and he's holding a bow. Of course, he has no inwards bicep swivel, so you kind of have to use your imagination because there's no string, and this is embarrassingly falling apart. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, there he is, wielding an invisible arrow. Yeah, it's a kitschy little thing. It was my first attempt at making an accessory, and for my first ever attempt at making hands from scratch, I think that came out pretty good. It's a convincing hand with a big floppy leather glove on top of it. You know, it has a thumb, 4 fingers, you know, everything you could expect from a hand. And that was Robbo the Hedge. So let's move on to my next figure, huh? Okay, so after I made that, I moved on to more characters from the comic or cartoon. This is actually was intended to be the cartoon version of the SWAT bot, which is black with a blue patch on the stomach. Although when I brought him to Comic-Con, they mistook him for a comic version of the character, so they called him a Shadow Bot. Because anyone who remembers the old comic book will remember that SWAT bots were white and gray, having a vaguely police motif, while later on in the series they became black and were renamed Shadow Bots, or, you know, were introduced as Shadow Bots from when an alternate universe crossover with Robo Robotnik, but that's really obscure. And I'm not gonna ask my subscribers to know that much Sonic trivia. This figure is not originally a Sonic figure, of course. But he's still Jazzwares. He's from their Astro Boy line. He was a Metro City soldier, and he still has his original Metro City soldier gun, and of course retains articulation, as any good custom should. Although he is a little stiff because the paint and sealant is rather thick on him. Face the camera. There you go. Stop. I swear he never falls over. I think this stove that I'm using as a stage here is on a slant or something. So yeah, he still moves, though the Metro City Soldier's articulation was basic, to say the least. I don't know, I guess Jazzwares really decided to phone it in on their Astro Boy line. Yeah, that's the SWAT bot. I decided that he was in fact the first robot custom I did, which kind of seems weird that I had to get this far into customs before I ever made any kind of robot. Yeah, that's from the old cartoon. Technically, I guess he's the only old cartoon character I made, unless you count him as a newer comic book character. And this one, some people may recognize this. This is the very first time I ever made a custom about a video about my custom. It was Princess Sally. She's made from from Astro Boy. I mostly got him because he had the boots for it. I noticed that Astro Boy's legs kind of look like Princess Sally's boots, but the figure really was not ideal for making Princess Sally much at all. She uses tails as arms, but the pegs weren't compatible, so they're glued in there. She has a scratch-built head, which is kind of accidentally really expressive, but really it's the only part of her that moves freely. I had to do quite a bit of cutting and sculpting onto the figure to make it fit Princess Sally's general proportions. One thing she has over the Polly Pocket Sally is that she's much more compatible in height. She's just about the same height as any of the regular Jazzwares lines. Of course, I don't really think that this is going to be my last Princess Sally. The Rouge the Bat figure is going to be coming out around the time of the Generations line, and when she does, you can bet that I'll have one more Princess Sally made, using her body as a base, of a proper adult female base body for a Sonic figure. So, yeah, look, you can look forward to seeing a new Princess Sally in the future, although my first and second one will always have some sentimental value, as everything does. Until now, I had managed to keep everything to the cartoons and the comic book, but I did break down and make a couple of characters from the video game, just because I figured they were from games that did not really do too well, or they were obscure characters from those games. The first one was Darkspine Sonic. Again, this one is made from the transparent Sonic variant that came in the 2-pack. And yes, it is this stove that is built on a slant, because when I put him facing the camera, he fell backwards, but when I turned him to the side, he stood up. So yes, it's not the figures, it's the stove. Stupid stove. Okay, anyway, I like to call this Power Ranger Sonic because he kind of reminds me of a Power Ranger, the way he's all painted up. Little heel thingies there to keep him standing upright. Oh, hey, look, I did it. Yeah, isn't that cool? So yeah, Darkspine Sonic from Sonic and the Secret Rings. Like I said, I don't normally make toys from the video games, but I do make the exception every now and then. If they make an official Darkspine Sonic figure, I would truly be surprised. Okay, and I actually had a little streak of making characters from the video games as I moved on to make Mephiles, one of my most favorite recent video game villains outside of Robotnik. I did catch some flack because I made Mephiles with white parts when I gotten like about 12.5 million people who commented on him saying that these white parts are actually supposed to be a sickly blue. But I'm like, oh, come on, guys. This is another relatively early work. I was getting a little better by now. This is actually the shadow that came with the All-Stars racer car, and he had some flaws like here in the shoulder joint isn't perfectly closed. I tried to fix that, but it keeps popping open. That's no good. What I did was, well, when I got the All-Stars Racer motorcycle for Shadow, I took my regular standalone Shadow figure, swapped out the hands with this guy, and put him on the motorcycle because he was better quality. Then I used the All-Stars Racer figure to make this guy. And he has arms and legs. Everything from below his knees is built out of clay. And this is also Mephiles' first appearance on my YouTube channel. So let's keep the streak moving, as I made yet another character from the video games who you probably will never see in action figure form. Metal Knuckles, or to avoid some controversy, Mecha Knuckles. Some people insist that Metal Knuckles from Sonic R and this guy are two different robots, and I'm inclined to agree. This is the Sonic Advance 2 boss, the Angel Island Zone boss. This is, of course, a Knuckles figure. It's almost a complete straight-up repaint, except here in the stomach, the missile thingy and the intake valve are sculpted on. This is actually pretty cool. This is where I started to really learn how to make customs based around Knuckles. I was always nervous to do it at first because the way his dreadlocks go, I was always afraid they were going to scratch up the paint on the arms. But you know, I've since gotten over that, although some paint rub has occurred. So that's my Metal Knuckles. He did make a cameo appearance when I did a review of Sonic Advance, not Sonic Advance, Sonic Battle. When I did my review of Sonic Battle, I had him make a quick cameo at the end to tell Metal Sonic to stop whining. So yeah, really obscure Game Boy Advance boss, and thought it was pretty cool. By the way, I do keep him with Darkspine Sonic in the original packaging. I had tried to make a whole thing where I could keep as many figures as possible, but with how many I own, it quickly became impossible to actually store that many boxes, so nowadays I just keep most of my customs freestanding. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so moving along, after I made those 3 video game figures, I went back to other sources, and to date this is the only anime figure I've made. Cosmo from the Sonic X anime. Her base was Amy Rose. She's actually the first Amy Rose that I customized, and really the first proper female character. I mean, I had made a Princess Sally before, but as I said, that was an Astro Boy, so it was kind of a toy sex change operation. Pretend I never said that, because that sounded a lot better in my head than it did out loud. So you have Cosmo. She has her little flower petal dress. She has her shoes. The figure had a few problems. A foot cracked. A little crack is forming in her hair. However, she can still, you know, pose her arms and give you a peace sign. You know, and she can wave at you. You know, I actually really liked Cosmo from the Sonic X anime. She was, of all the original characters that anime produced, Cosmo was really the only one that I liked. She was her design is based off of an obscure Sonic Shuffle character, Lumina Flowlight. Sonic Shuffle being a party game that only appeared in a Dreamcast. And you know, her character design was obviously lifted from Lumina, but she still made it her own. So yeah, I can go on and on talking about Cosmo, but you know, I'm trying to do a big figure dump of everything I've ever made here. Oh, by the way, not quite everything I've ever made, because I have sold things, and the things that I sold will not be appearing here because I don't have them anymore. And a lot of people will recognize this one. This was my second ever video about making customized toys, and it's significantly huge. Let's pull back a little bit, and yeah, okay, the Tornado. People remember this? People remember I made a second one and sold that second one? This is still my original. Still has a spinning propeller. This Tornado actually has a bit of story, because I put a video about him on YouTube like forever ago, and when I was in Toys R Us looking for more toys to buy to customize, I happened to mention while thinking out loud that I was looking for something to customize, and two young boys who were in the aisle recognized my voice and asked if I was the guy who had built the Tornado on YouTube. And they then freaked out when they found out that it was me and ran to tell their parents that they had met me in real life. So this guy here represents my first real life instance of celebrity. Yeah, where somebody actually recognized me for what I did online. So yeah, that's significantly awesome if you ask me. Okay, let's get the Tornado out of here. Alright, so the Tornado is actually, there is a Tails figure on there, but he was made from a Barney Stormin, a character from the movie Cars, or if not in the movie itself Cars, he probably appeared in the animated shorts about Cars. But he wouldn't be the only toy that would not be related to Jazzwares that I would make a custom out of. You're really going to have to be a fan of the comic to recognize this guy, because it is a Combot. And let's actually rearrange the camera back to where it was before, so we can get a clearer look. Is he fuzzy? I think he might be fuzzy. Let's do something about that fuzziness. And I hope that fixed the fuzziness. If not, you can see pictures of him on my YouTube, DeviantArt and Figure Realm and places where I post pictures. Unfortunately, Iron Man is made out of a different kind of plastic that did not like the curing process. It expanded quite a bit, and when it contracted, it left void space that caused cracks to form. But you know, that's cool. It's battle hardened, battle damaged Combot, and he still retains Iron Man's regular points of articulation. Yeah. The Combots were supposed to be an upgraded replacement for SWATbots in the comic book. They only made a few appearances. They were really tough and powerful and gave Sonic quite a hard time. I can only imagine that Robotnik either didn't like their motif or decided that they were too expensive. And my cell phone is ringing, so if you will just give me a second to answer that. Okay, my phone call was tended to, and we are back to the Combot. I can only imagine Robotnik decided to stop using these. Actually, they did make an appearance in issue 50, well, the endgame storyline leading up to issue 50. I guess the reason that we stopped seeing Combots is because that version of Robotnik died. And since he died, he wasn't there to build Combots anymore. Yeah. So yeah, Combot, made from an Iron Man. The face just needs to be repainted, by the way. It's funny how Iron Man already kind of looks like a Combot. I wonder if that was intentional. Like the artists of Archie Comics said, you know what would be badass if Robotnik made an army of army camouflage decaled Iron Man clones to fight Sonic with, and I'm getting silly. So, from one green robot that was only in the comic book series to another green robot that was only in the comic book series, let's present another one of my more popular customs, Metal Scourge. I swear, of all the customs that I ever wanted to make, Metal Scourge is probably the one that was rattling around in my head longest, because the character Metal Scourge was introduced to the comic book way before the toy of Metal Sonic actually became available in stores. And then when it finally did become available in stores, there were defects, so they had to have a recall, and I had to wait until that recall, and they fixed them. But finally, I managed to get extra Metal Sonic figures, and I took the first one I got, and well, actually the first one I got I kept because I liked it, but the second one I got, I turned it into him, the Metal Scourge robot. He was only in one issue of the comic book, and but I still thought that he had a great character design, flame decals, painted on shades. He's a Metal Sonic that's painted up to look like Scourge. The only clay fabrication was the chest decals. It looks like jet intakes, and I think by this point I was beginning to make videos of my customs step by step, although I wasn't putting voiceover work into them because I was self-conscious about the sound of my voice. Well, glad to say I got over that. So yeah, if you're thinking, didn't he skip a whole bunch? The ones that I skipped are the ones that I've sold and no longer have. And we move on from one robot of Sonic to another robot of Sonic. As I've called him many times, my proudest creation, and that is Mecha Sonic, as he appeared from being roboticized in issue 39 of the comic book and the Mecha Madness 48-page special, which really wasn't as good as issue 39, kind of a letdown. But this was Mecha Sonic, and every time I look at him, I remember the time I took him to Comic-Con, and Ian Flynn and Patrick Spasnight himself, the one who drew the character for the first time, actually picked him up in his hands and turned him over and admired how amazing it was, and that awestruck look he had on his face will never leave my memory, and I love you, man. You're awesome. Who's awesome? Yeah, that's right. You're awesome. Look at me. I'm getting all silly and sentimental. Yeah. Okay, so from Mecha Sonic, let's move on to the next custom figure that I made. Okay, so the next guy that I made was, of course, none other than the original, well, not original, I should say, the Saturday morning style or early comic book style Dr. Robotnik. This guy Has a real cloth cape. Ooh, look at that. I made him from a Big the Cat figure. Big the Cat being the only figure that I did not double buy. Usually when I buy figures, I buy two of them. One for my collection and the other to customize. But for Big the Cat, I'm like, screw that stupid cat. I do not want that cat. What I want is a Dr. Robotnik. And that cat can go burn for all I care. Big the Cat's severed head is still in my spare parts bin. That floppy, soft, rubber, ducky plastic thing is useless as kit-bashing material. So, once again, that cat proves that his existence is pointless. But he did make a really good Dr. Robotnik figure, didn't he? That's his roboticized left arm and his right arm. I think maybe it might have been a little better if I had trimmed the length of the arms down a bit, but I don't know. I guess the proportionality is kind of weird looking, but this does allow him to point rather menacingly, even if it does come out rather far. I don't know. The robot, you know, the proportions in the cartoon and the comic book never were exactly completely what you'd expect from humans. And then I did something unusual for me again. I made more characters from the video game. This is the Eggbot. If you don't recognize the Eggbot, then I will remind you he was a sub-boss in the RPG Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood. I want to see part 2 of that story because it ended on a freaking cliffhanger, but I'm willing to bet that they probably aren't going to make one. Would be really awesome if they did, but they're probably not going to, and that makes me sad. So here we have the Eggbot. He's basically a Dr. Robotnik robot clone. Aside from some color palette dealies and bigger feet, he has eyebrows. That is the primary visual difference in the face of this guy. I might make other Robotnik clones later on, like maybe El Gran Gordo from the Sonic X comic, or Zobotnik, the prison warden from Sonic Universe, or perhaps even Captain Whisker, if they don't make a figure of Captain Whisker. The Eggbot is not to be confused with the Egg Robos, which they will be making official action figures of when the Generations line comes out, and I can't wait because Egg Robos are my all-time favorite Badnik. So, moving him aside, speaking of Badniks, Motobug. Yes, Motobug. Again, I said I don't like to make characters from the cartoon, from the video game, because there's always a chance that Jazzwares will make official ones, and that was the case in this guy. For mere months after I made him, I found out that they were making official Motobug toys to package with classic Sonic. Although, hypothetically, mine would still be cooler because he was based around a pullback toy. The idea was that you pull him back, and then he'd run forward, and as he moved forward, his legs would move up and down. See, they're moving? See? Unfortunately, the curing process by which I hardened his clay shell must have been damaging to the internal mechanisms, because now the springs, I'm pretty sure the spring still whines because it wants to move, but I think what happened is some of the gears got bent, so he does not move forward, which is very sad. I should have found a way to remove the mechanism before I stuck it in the boiling water. Well, I learned my mistake with that, and when I made my grounder, I chose a toy whose wheels would not be affected by such things. So, yeah, as you can see, Grounder rolls quite splendidly. Aha! See? There. Proof that this thing has a slant to it. See how he moves when I just set him down and he rolls? That's why figures keep tipping over on here. So Grounder is based off an Android's toy. He has posable arms and Hot Wheels wheels. Some people ask why I chose to make the red Grounder from the video games instead of the green Grounder from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. And the only answer I had to give to that is because I'm lazy. And well, aside from the fact that I'm lazy, is that Grounder, made from this figure, is about the same size as Motobug, whereas the Grounder from the cartoon series would have to be taller, almost as tall as Sonic. And as you can see, Grounder is significantly shorter than Sonic would be. So yeah, this is the video game Badnik. Even though he's from the video game, though, I have not had any risk of him being scooped, because I have not heard of Jazzwares making a Grounder Badnik anytime soon. Now, a common point about all these figures is that they've been Sonic customs up until now, but as some people will recall, I did make a Young Link figure, and I have made some non-Sonic figures, and they will be presented to you right now. If anyone's wondering why I'm bringing this up now, it's because I decided to make these I'm presenting these in the order that I made them, is what I'm doing. And so this is original Transformers character. I call her Jetra. I'm told that I took a completely bootleg knockoff Transformer toy, which cost me less than $4, and I was told by later fans that that it was actually a knockoff of a Soundwave mold. Apparently they made a Soundwave that transformed into a jet and had no elbow articulation, and Hasbro actually sold that at one point. I mean, it's nice for a knockoff, but the fact that Hasbro sold something like that and the only difference would have been better plastic, I mean, how could they sell it without any elbow articulation? I mean, from what I hear, that mold wasn't even from that long ago. It's like from the year 2000 or something. But anyway, here's my Jetra. I gave her improved arms with elbows made courtesy of some Kinex parts. And the reason I made Jetra was to get practice on working on Transformers so I could make the Transformer custom that I really wanted to make, Nightbird. Nightbird has proudly been standing on my display shelf since I made her, and she remains one of my all-time favorite customs to this day. I do have plans on making other Transformer customs in the future, but for now I am more than happy to just stare at the greatness that is Nightbird. She's carrying her sword. She also has her nunchucks, because, you know, she's a ninja, and ninjas wield swords and nunchucks, and that's what makes them cool. So yeah, that's Jetra and Nightbird. See how I saved that little flub there by making it sound like I was talking about both of them? She can transform to car mode, but it would take some time to do so. You know what, I'm just going to stop the video and then I'm going to transform her to car mode to show you. And here is the first ever YouTube appearance of Nightbird's car mode. Yeah, bet you like that, huh? Woo! Nightbird as a car, proudly displaying that Decepticon logo on her roof. Yeah. Of course, you gotta be real careful in transforming her, because she is painted and you don't want to scratch her up. Okay, so enough of Nightbird. As everyone probably knows, I have a webcomic, Captain N: The Next Generation, which prompted me to, you know, the characters on that comic are Sonic, Vector Man, and this little dude, Bomberman, who comes to us courtesy of a Gumball Machine toy. He has a little belly bomb. Yes. That's charming little 50-cent kitsch. Okay, so yeah, that's Bomberman. The real reason I made Bomberman was as something to accompany my Captain N figure. Captain N being a somewhat original character for me. The concept is old, the design is new. Okay, so sorry about that. My camera ran out of digital film. Let's get this over with quickly then, and holy crap, when the heck did I give him a spear point to hold on to? Whatever. So yeah, that's my Captain N figure. Let's move on. The next one I made was, of course, my very pretty Zero Suit Samus. And everybody loves Samus, and everybody loves Zero Suit Samus. I wish I could have done her hair a little bit better, but I couldn't find a figure, so I had to try cutting Black Widow's. She has her paralyzer, and she's still poseable. You've all seen her in her action poses. And we're getting pretty close to the current day, so besides all the figures I sold, and you've seen almost all of them, we're finally up to my Enerjack custom, another character exclusive to the Sonic comics. As you may remember, the helmet comes off. Another successful attempt at the removable accessories. And you've all seen the Enerjack video. It's all, I did Chuckamation style stuff, and he did all kinds of crazy crap. And we move on to one of my biggest. I mean, the Tornado is probably the biggest, but as far as action figures go, this is probably my bigger one, because he's made out of a 5-inch Sonic figure. To see how big that is, hang on, these guys are not appearing in frame. But yeah, see, he's even taller than Dr. Robotnik. And the stove with its slope shows its ugly head again. You are a very bad sport, Stove. I do not like you. So yeah, there's a Silver Sonic Mark III in all of his giant goodness. And after Silver Sonic Mark III, you know, remember the Mighty figure I made just recently? I shipped him out today. Had I filmed this a couple hours sooner, I might have been able to show him to you before I mailed him. But as for right now, all I have left to show you is my Samus. You can consider this my crowning achievement so far. She's my most recent one, the last one I've made so far. And you know, it's freaking Samus, one of my all-time favorite game characters. And I do hope that you, my loyal fans, have enjoyed this trip down memory lane. So, I guess there's nothing to say but thank you for watching me, and here's to another 100 videos.